another sports drink.
I hope the bloody... Hang on, I hope the screen keys right.
4 for 99p in Tesco at the moment.
A fruit shoe.
Yeah.
How old are you, mate?
I love fruit shoes, mate.
Did someone sponsor you? Hey.
However, fruit shoes are available.
Are we live?
You have to.
Yeah. Just come.
Oh wow, they changed their name. Wow. They changed their name colour as well in chat. If they're subscribed, it changes their name colour to green. It's awesome. You see it? John Harris. Oh no, man.
In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Elite FPL podcast, previewing game week 9 on this Thursday evening. Hello, everybody in chat. How are you doing this evening? Notorious Nerd, David Hackinson, Alpha 9, G-Wiz back in the house. John Harris, thank you ever so much, John Harris, for becoming our latest member. Enjoy the emotes and the badge, and a really funky green name. I didn't even know it changed your name to green. That's even better, as you probably have heard at the beginning of the stream. Technical issue there. One Rovers Vlogs, how you doing? Ben Wheatcroft, Yassine Klausch. We got Aussie Boy FPL, Matt Brunton's in chat, Dejan Checo, we've got Tika Sala, got Sarah of the intro music. Yeah, it's awesome. I even actually listened to it as well. We've got Paul J and lots of you guys actually chilling out. Over 78 people now tuned in to the start of the show. I hope you guys are all excited for game week 9. Forgetting all about game week 8 and the previous game weeks, all those disappointing game weeks that we've had. Seems like so long ago now, doesn't it? That all that happened. But yes, you may have noticed we've got another person with us this evening, and that person is Dan Bull. And for those of you who've been with the show for quite some time, he's one of the original OG. He's an OG on the show, and is dressed appropriately this evening. One of the original group. And Dan, welcome to the show this evening, and he'll be going through the score predictions with us. Steve-O is also here, but you might have noticed we've got a matching t-shirts on at the moment. Obviously I think I need to kind of, if I do this I'll look a bit more like Steve-O. There you go. Steve can't see me, so it doesn't matter, guys. But Steve, welcome. You're on your internet on your phone tonight. You're away from home, aren't you? Where are you? Somewhere like you're that delay. You must be somewhere far away. I'm thinking Caribbean, maybe Florida, maybe. Whereabouts are you?
Good old Torbay, back in Devon.
back in Devon. Well,
back in farmer's world, as they say.
Very good.
I'm hoping the internet goes okay and everything. Like Jason said, unfortunately, due to circumstances, I can only use my phone. I'm completely going in blind. But don't worry, Saturday, everybody, back to normal. Big day of streaming with me and Jason. Cannot wait for that. More importantly, I just want to say welcome back, Dan. Good evening.
Yes, absolutely.
Good evening, guys. How's it going? Yeah, great to be back on the stream. Thanks for having me back on. And thanks to everyone in chat that's also saying hello. And yeah, just really looking forward to game week 9. It feels weird being back on, but it also feels like I didn't leave in a way. And I thought I'd kind of emulate Jason with my little gangster Chicago ball inspired hip hop design here. Got all my moves behind my chest, so I'm back.
Yeah, looking very suave, looking very good. So you guys all ready to look forward to game week 9? It is a crammed Saturday of fixtures. Just looking at those fixtures now, it's a busy weekend. All those 3:00 games. It's going to be an amazing weekend, isn't it? Well, going to be a super Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be one where myself and Jason are going to be covering it all. So I suggest if you're a big Elite FPL men from Saturday, from about approximately 10:08, myself going all the way through up till what? Potentially 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We'll be streaming virtually all day. Obviously, there'll be a break in between all this. So essentially, before we end up in deadline, is everything okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just Uncle Juicy TV. I'm feeling that Upper 90s studio. I didn't even realise.
You hit your microphone. There you go. Yeah. So again, guys, just bear with Steve-O. He's on his mobile, so it may sound a bit different, and you may have not caught everything. But yeah, as Steve-O said, from 10 o'clock on Saturday, he's going to be doing a wildcard special, aren't you, Steve-O? And it's going to be a bit of a marathon on Saturday. I think we've got to have a lot of things to cover. But yeah, looking forward to this weekend. And you guys just FPL wise, have you switched off, Dan? This past couple of weeks, have you managed to kind of kick back, think other things, or is it just all been about planning for Game Week 9?
It's hard to switch off from FPL. Like, it is really difficult. I'm obviously someone that I'm quite passionate about the England team, want them to see do well, and but yeah, like it's like when Pukki scored twice against Armenia for Finland, you're just thinking, oh, should I keep him? Should I get rid of him? And it's hard, like McGinn gets a hat trick. I know it's against San Marino, but all these things make you think of your players. And like, what was it? Norway played Spain, I think it was last Friday, drew 1-1, and Josh King got a goal, got a penalty, a late equaliser for Norway. And it does make you think about FPL and your team, even though it's a game between Norway and Spain. So I've switched off a little bit, but I am looking forward to FPL action back again. I think Premier League's where it's at. Hopefully we qualify for the Euros, but yeah, it's good that the real stuff's back.
No, definitely. So Steve-O, I hope you being away from home, you've managed to pack your Pukki pad or whatever it is, the pucker pad of history. There we go. What's that up there? Is that a scribble out? Is that a mistake, Steve-O?
Don't ask. It's I don't even know what it is.
All right, okay.
Something from
whatever. Well, I'll tell you what. How about you introduce with Dan the first fixture, which is a 12:30 kickoff. Everton at home to West Ham.
Yeah, for everyone who's a regular watcher and anybody who's new to this, we do a bit of a scoring system regarding the preview show, in which, for a bit of fun, we play a little game where we obviously predict the results and we get a certain amount of points per scoreline. So we get 1 point for the correct outcome, we get 2 points for close enough, and we get 3 points for bang on the money. And also, during this specific predictions, I also give you a bit of a history statistic regarding the respective fixtures. But not only that, the most important thing is what the history expectancy the popular picks this particular game week. And this particular game week, I've gone with Wilson, Kane, Son, Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne, and Sterling. So those 6 there. And who will the history come out on top of? Now, I know Juggernauts, who is 6th in our Cash Money League, he has been doing very well this season. He has been captaining every single captain the history has been suggesting. And Juggernauts, I hope you've got one particular in mind, because his history is absolutely sublime when it comes to this particular game week. So, like Jason just said, we kick off with Everton versus West Ham. Dan, as our guest, what are you thinking on this game?
Yeah, I mean, Everton, they signed so many players in the summer, but they've just been so disappointing this season, particularly from an FPL perspective. Like, before the start of the season, it was like I had Moyes Keane in an early draft squad. Digne, obviously I've had him in, I've taken him out this week. Whereas West Ham have been like, I think you could say they've exceeded expectations a bit, really, with how they've done this season. Obviously, I know some people got Haller in, and yeah, it's a tricky one, but I think I'm going to go for 2-1 to West Ham in this game.
Oh, wow. I think that this particular fixtures, I think they're just going to cancel each other out.
What happened?
Nothing happened. He just went. I think Steve-O's still there. Steve-O's still there. He's still there we go.
Me of the Ring or something. I was just like, what?
They're going to cancel each other out, Steve-O. Yeah. So carry on. We got that much. Yeah,
cancel each other out. I'm going to go 1-1. And then Jason, what are you thinking?
I think there's a bit of truth in that. I think I'm going to go with a West Ham win. I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham. There you go, Wiz. Oh no, he's signing.
Wow. Well, in this particular fixture, the history is going 2-0 to Everton. In this particular fixture, in the last 6 fixtures, there's been 4. Everton have won 3 out of the last 6. West Ham 2 out of the last 6. So could be a...
Oh no.
Steve-O, can you hear me? Switch back to your mobile data, because your Wi-Fi, my friend, is just not cutting it, my friend.
No. It's got nothing to do with that. I can explain after stream. Let's just leave it at that, shall we?
What were you doing?
It's a good job you got me here, Jace.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
What's the next game?
Yeah, the next game on the cards. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Steve, we're mobile. There we go. We got you back. Actually, you're looking better now, Steve-o.
Good. But, I'll explain why afterwards, and I think I know you know why. Yeah. So.
I know why.
Yeah.
Go on.
The private match, I would say.
Okay.
So moving on to the first 3 o'clock kickoff, which is involving Aston Villa versus Brighton. Dan, your thoughts on this specific game?
Yeah, I'm not sure about. I've just got a feeling Brighton are going to edge it somehow. Don't ask me why. You know, every game week I would go for a shock kind of upset. And obviously, Brighton won 3-0 against Tottenham last time. So I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton.
2-1 to Brighton. Jason?
I'm not going to go to 2-1 to Brighton. I think Villa's going to have enough to beat Brighton. Sorry for those people bringing in Matt Ryan this game week. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win to Aston Villa.
1-0 to Aston Villa. Wow. I think, again, just like the West Ham game, I think they're going to cancel each other out, and I'm going 1-1.
Oh, by the way, Trossard isn't back. It doesn't look likely that he will play. Ari Hiroki, sorry to kind of bust your bubble there. It doesn't look likely that he's going to be playing. Anyway.
Yeah, so the history's going 2-1.
Yeah, Stephen, not having much luck with him tonight. He's coming back. He's coming forth. Bear with us while this keeps occurring, unfortunately. But very frustrating. But like Villa, obviously they beat Norwich. Was it 5-1 last time? Seems like a long time ago since that fixture, and Brighton winning. So I think it will be. Oh.
Don't smash your phone, Steve. Don't smash your phone. It's fine. It's fine.
Just look at your WhatsApp, Jason. Just look at your WhatsApp. That's all I'll say.
Oh, right. I think I know.
Yeah, you do. Exactly.
Carry on, Dan.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, obviously, both teams scored a lot of goals in the last game. And Brighton were, quite strong at home last season. Trossard's been good. Obviously, he's not back for this game, but I've still got McGinn. I've got him in my wild card, and he's done really well for Villa this season. Obviously, done well for Scotland as well during the international qualifiers. So, yeah, it could be. I mean, I said 2-1 to Brighton. I might be changing, but it could be a high-scoring game. But I've just got a feeling Brighton are going to nick it for some reason.
Yeah, let's just move away from this pointless game. We seem to spend half an hour talking about this. But what I will say is the history's going 2-1 to Aston Villa. In the 2 victories, though, that Villa have won, they've scored 3 times, but there has been 2 1-1 victories in this particular fixture. But Aston Villa, 2-1 victory according to the history. Moving on to what I believe will be one of the highest scoring games of the particular game week, and it's Bournemouth versus Norwich. I'm going 3-1 Dan to Bournemouth.
Yeah, Bournemouth. Obviously Norwich's leaky defence has been much talked about. And I do still own a Norwich asset. Cantwell, and I'll explain why later on. But got rid of Pookie. Still a bit anxious about that one. But I'm going to go 2-1 to Bournemouth. I think it could be a little bit closer than that.
Are you just
What was that? Sorry, Stevie?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Is Dan just predicting 2-1?
Yes, I think that's what he said.
There's some close games, but 2-1 to Bournemouth.
Cool. So we've got Aussie Boy in chat saying 3-2 to Bournemouth. We've got Yassine saying 4-2. Mac is in saying 2-1. Notorious Nerd saying 6-2 to Bournemouth. Dejan Checo saying 2-2. I'm going to go with a Bournemouth win here. I don't think it'll be as many 6 goals. I think Callum Wilson is a great captaincy shout this week. I'm going to go 3-1 to Bournemouth. Accelerate.
Yeah, the history's actually going 2-1 to Norwich. There's been 18 goals scored in this fixture, and Norwich have won 3 out of the last 6. Bournemouth 2 out of the last 6. But those 2 victories came in the last to Bournemouth.
Yeah, we're losing Steve-O, guys. There's a reason for it, guys. There's a reason for it. So just we're not going to say it on air, but there is a definite reason for it. We've got. Can you just finish off that history there, Steve-O?
Yeah, essentially, Callum Wilson, who I think is a good captaincy option this week, he's made 3 starts, 1 substitute appearance against Norwich. He scored 1 goal.
Okay, got you. It's nothing to do with the internet, guys. Vaughan has signed back for Spurs. Who's going to be the new goalkeeper? Gazaniga.
Vaughan's been signed as backup. Yeah, because he was on a free. Well, he's a free agent, so he's just gone back to the club basically as backup.
Yeah. Next fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Chelsea versus Newcastle, and I'm just going to use Dan's line here. I think they'll do a professional job. And I'm going to go 2-0 to Chelsea, Dan.
Mate, you took the words right out of my mouth. Great win for Newcastle last time around, beating Man United 1-0. Thought I'd get that in there. But yeah, Chelsea, like I say, 2-0. Abraham, he obviously got called up to the England squad. Could be a differential captain choice there.
I think one more. I'm going to go 3-0 Chelsea. Tika Salah says 3-0. Lippman 3-0. Yassine saying 3-0. FPL Aguero saying 4-0. Aussie Boy FPL saying 4-1. Mac saying 1-0. Not many people going with a Norwich win. Oh, sorry, a Newcastle win.
Yeah, Chelsea should be confident in this game. There's been 22 goals scored in this particular fixture. 15 have been for Chelsea, and 13 of them have been at home. So you'd like to think that they're going to do pretty well versus Newcastle. And Newcastle have actually lost 5 out of the last 6 versus Chelsea. So you'd like to think that it should be a decent win there. Moving on to Leicester versus my lads Burnley. I think this is going to be a very, very tight game. I was thinking 1-0 to Leicester. I've given them an extra goal. I think they'll score 1-0. I think they'll score quite early, and then I think they'll just go and get a goal late on. I think it'll end 2-0, Dan.
You're copying all my predictions because you're going first. I'm literally...
Dan goes first next game. There we go.
Okay, that'll be better. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Leicester. Obviously, Leicester have been really good this season, really impressive. I bought in Jamie Vardy because of the fixtures coming up and his form this season. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Leicester.
Interesting. I don't think Burnley are going to let in 2 goals. I think it's going to be a tighter game. I think there's just going to be 1 goal in it. I think... Will Burnley score? I think Burnley. I'm going to go 1-1.
1-1, blimey.
Same me and Nasty Balls now.
There
you go.
Very interesting. Well, history suggesting a tight game is going 1-0 to Leicester. In the last 6 fixtures, there have been 4 clean sheets overall. Leicester have won 3 out of the last 6. Burnley with 2 out of the last 6, so it should be quite tight, I'd like to think. Now, Dan, it's Tottenham versus Watford. Tottenham in absolute dire straits at the moment. Can't seem to buy a win.
Right, Tottenham-Watford. Okay, so unfortunately we lost Diego again there. So, yeah, unfortunately not being on the podcast this season, I haven't been able to put the boot into FPL Boona, but I'm here now just to say I'm really sorry to see Tottenham doing really badly this season. Boona, if you ever need to speak to me, you can always still message me on Discord or Instagram at Elite FPL. I'm really sorry, my friend. Tottenham have got to pick it up at some point. I think this is a good fixture for them to pick it up. And I'm going to be nice. I'm going to go 3-1 to Tottenham.
3-1 to Tottenham. Jason?
Yeah, I think Tottenham will bounce back. And I'm hoping that Son, who's in my team, is going to get some good minutes and get on the score sheet. I'm going to go with 2-0 Watford. 2 Tottenham. Sorry.
Was that 2-1 Tottenham, Jason?
Yeah, 2-0. 2-0.
Yeah, in this particular fixture, the history's going 2-1 to Tottenham. As Tottenham have only won 3 out of the last 6. There's been 1 Watford win, 2 draws. Interestingly, there has been 2 red cards involved in this fixture, so it could be quite a bit of a feisty one. Moving on to Wolves versus Southampton. This could be a tight game, I think, but I think Wolves will just edge this, and I'm going to go 2-1 down to Wolves.
Yeah, obviously Wolves had that amazing win at Man City last time around, and I think people are starting to notice Wolves' assets again, really. But obviously we'll get onto that more later on. I'm going to go for a 3-1 to Wolves.
Interesting. I'm going to go for a. I think again. I think there's going to be goals. Both teams are going to score. 2-1 to Wolves.
What did you say, Dan?
I said 3-1 to Wolves, repping my old uni team.
Daily Lama's got 1-1. There's a few 1-1s here.
I haven't predicted a draw yet.
No.
I'm out of practice with this prediction malarkey.
Stein says 3-0 to Spurs. That was last game. 3-0 to Spurs. Son getting 2. I'll be happy with that. 2-0 to Spurs, double from Son. Wolves 2-1. Yeah.
You mentioned.
Sorry, Steve-O. We've seem to be losing Steve-O again.
Yeah, you didn't. You mentioned. I didn't mention the Tottenham captaincy option there in Kane and Son. Essentially, Kane has started 3 times versus Watford, made 1 substitution. He's only got 1 goal. But any Son owners out there, his history is excellent. 4 starts versus Watford, 4 goals and 1 assist. So any owners out there, you may want to keep hold. Yeah, and moving on to the history regarding Wolves versus Southampton, saying 2-1 to Wolves. There has been 4 clean sheets in this particular fixture. Wolves have won 4 out of the last 6. Southampton with 2 wins. They should be inevitable.
Daily Lama in chat.
Right, moving on to the
Daily Lama in chat saying Stein's lag is worse than Steve-O's.
Yeah.
It's all very well for us to joke about.
Anyway.
God, I know how it feels, Steve-O.
It's frustrating. Right, moving on, Steve-O. It's Palace versus Man City.
Should be covering on Saturday. We had that Etihad and they won 3-2. Man City.
Yeah, I mean Palace. All right, so Palace, Man City. I'll get into it. Obviously, Man City lost at home to Palace 3-2 last season. There've been some interesting games over the last few seasons. I know that Palace, Man City the season before was 0-0. I'm going to predict it. I'm going to say Man City will win 2-1. My favourite score of the night, 2-1. But it'll be a tight game. It'll be an interesting game, and I think Palace will give it a good go. And it's not guaranteed for Man City.
What are you going to go with?
Your nickname Mark Lawrence is that?
Say again, sorry?
Your nickname Mark Lawrence.
Oh,
yeah, because I back Liverpool every time. They're always a dead set. If you read the BBC Sport website, other sports websites are available. But yeah, he backs Liverpool every time. But no, I don't know. Like I said, I'm out of practice. But I think it will be a tight game. Palace have, given Man City some good games over the years. So, yeah, I'm going to stick to it. 2-1.
A lot of people saying right? City 3, Palace 1. 3-1 City, says Vince Chapman. Ibrahim Sadat. 2-0 City, says Littman. 3-1 City, Lama says. Steiny signed with 3-0 City. Jordan Booman, 3-0 City. A lot of 3-0s. Do you know what I think? I think a 2-0 win for Man City, I think, for that one. Steve-O, I want to ask, are you on Wi-Fi at the moment or are you on 4G?
I'm now on 4G.
You on 4G? Okay, no worries. Anyway.
I just seen the comment in chat from Anish saying, Dan, have you been watching too much Arsenal Fan TV? Been watching Arsenal Fan TV since 2013, so possibly yes.
Yeah, well, I feel sorry for you having to go through that for so long.
And I am drinking Fruit Shoot from Robinson's, but other fruit drinks are available. Just to
It was all blurred then. Okay. Right, so yeah, that was the Saturday's fixtures. I don't know
Arsenal playing Sheffield United away on Sunday.
Yeah, let me switch over to
so
that.
I'll get into that. I mean, it's going to be a difficult game. Sheffield United played really well against
No, they're playing on the Monday, mate.
Was it Monday? Oh, shows what a great Arsenal fan I am. But
yeah,
Monday it is. They're playing this weekend. Sheffield
anyway,
United,
let's talk about the main event of the weekend, shall we? Sunday.
All right.
So Sunday afternoon. God, the Sunday's going to just have one game, guys. When was the last time we had a? When was the last time we had?
Yeah,
when was the last time we had a Sunday that only had one game? I'm sure somebody in chat could probably find out.
A few weeks ago there was. Yeah, the fixtures have been a bit weird, but I suppose some traditionalists would like the fact that there's games on a Saturday. But Man United versus Liverpool, massive game, Jason. Yeah,
it is a massive game, and I'm thoroughly expecting United to be on the defensive for the majority of the game. It's the same with that, the game against Arsenal. I'm not holding out much hope. I wish I hadn't made a bet at the beginning of the season about who's going to finish above who, because I'm really concerned about United, and we haven't got a prolific striker. We are up against a solid defense. We're not going to score. I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked if we score at home, even against Liverpool. I mean, I would love it if they raise their game. I love it if we've got
to raise their game. Sure.
Wow.
Is Martial fit for this game?
I don't think he is fully fit for this game. I don't know if anyone chat can. We're going to listen to the press conference tomorrow, aren't we? To find out tomorrow. So I don't know. I don't know if he is going to be fully fit. Ollie will probably mention him tomorrow. I would say that this is going to be damage limitation for Man United. They might pull up a performance out of the bag that will surprise everybody, like they did against Chelsea in the first game of the season. And I'm going to go with 0-0.
Oh, okay.
There you go. All that build up.
At the end of the day, it's Man United versus Liverpool. United are going to be so up for it. The crowd are going to be up for it. Obviously, Rashford played for England on Monday, so he's fit. He'll be there to play, you'd imagine. And yeah, I mean, United have kind of raised their game against the bigger teams at home this season. Obviously, they started really well, beating Chelsea 4-0. Draw against us, possibly could have won that game. Liverpool obviously won all their Premier League games. I'm going to go for something of a shock result. I'm going to go 1-1 in this game. My first draw that I predicted.
Oh, 1-1. I say 0-0.
Prediction, yeah.
You say 1-0, Steve-O?
I'm going 1-0 to Liverpool. I think based on what you said the other day regarding United's only issues are in midfield. Defensively, they're actually pretty solid. All the expected conceded goals, etc. They're actually underperforming or some rubbish like that, and they shouldn't be conceding as many. And I think it'll be a very, very tight game, and I'm going to go. I think Liverpool will just break them. I'm going 1-0. Again, you went with 0-0. There has actually been 2 0-0s in the last 6 fixtures for this particular one. Liverpool have only won twice in the last 6, and there have been 3 draws. So this could be a lot tighter than we all expect. And moving on to now Sheffield United versus Dan's lads. It's Arsenal. Yeah. Everybody seems to think that Sheffield United are going to batter you. Dan, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, all I remember about Sheffield United Arsenal was that FA Cup semi-final when Seaman made that Matrix save all those years ago.
Oh, yeah, off the line, wasn't it? It was like the hand of God. But, well, it wasn't like the hand of God. It was just literally like, he stopped the ball on the line, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then pushed it out. That was amazing.
That was.
I was watching that live. Well, on the TV, I was watching it live.
It was on BBC. Yeah, other sports channels are available. But, well, I don't know. We're rubbish away from home. As I said, Sheffield United played really well against Liverpool. Sheffield United are going to score. I'm just hoping that Aubameyang brings his A game, because obviously I've got him in my team. Hoping that Pepe can finally do something and give us a performance befitting of a record signing. I'm gonna say. Oh, sod it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say 2-0 Arsenal. Actually, I'm gonna say we're gonna keep a clean sheet, which sounds mental, but yeah, we've got to get a good away win at some point.
I actually agree with you, Dan. And just a quick one before I continue. Based on the history regarding Man City assets in Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne, and Sterling, Aguero has started 2 games, made 2 sub-appearances versus Crystal Palace. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist, and that was actually in the same game. Kevin De Bruyne, 4 starts, 1 sub-appearance, 2 goals, 2 assists. Sterling, though, 5 starts, 1 sub-appearance, 6 goals. So hopefully the overs are looking good there. But back to the Sheffield United versus Arsenal game. I'm agreeing with you, Dan. I'm going with 2-0 to Arsenal. I just think teams like this, they just edge them out. And yeah, I think it should be a quote-unquote comfortable victory just. I think your quality will shine through. Jason?
Yeah, I just want to say Jordan Booman, who said it was Sheffield Wednesday. Okay, it was definitely not. It was definitely Sheffield United. And I've actually...
You don't want to make that mistake in Sheffield, mate. If you say that, you'll. Oof. Sean Bean will be after you, mate. You know, I know he dies and everything he's in, but he's very much alive. So.
In Sheffield, I would say that this game, has it got upset written on it, written all over it? I don't know. I think Sheffield United at home, maybe a bit of
It's an evening game as well, isn't it?
It is an evening game. I don't know. I'm not going to be so. I'm actually going to go with a 2-1 to Arsenal. Go there, just about edge it. I think Sheffield United will be tough, but I think it'll be 2-1 or 1-2.
This should go 3-0. A bit of the pop quiz for you, Dan. So all the history of the last 6 fixtures dates all the way back to 2008. Arsenal have won 4 out of the last 6. There have been 5 clean sheets involved in a specific fixture, but when it was last at Bramwell Lane, it was in a League Cup when they won 3-0. Can you name the goal scorers in this particular fixture when Arsenal won away 3-0? Can you name them? Can you remember?
Are you going to tell me what year it was?
2008.
Oh, 2008. Okay.
Bit of fun. And they're not obvious either.
What a surprise. Nicholas Bentner?
No.
I remember him.
Carlos Feller?
No.
I don't know how many guesses I'm going to get.
Van Persie.
Van Persie, yeah.
I don't think anybody will get it. It's Eduardo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Eduardo.
He was all right.
He got 2 goals, and the midfielder was Denilson.
Oh, Denilson. He wasn't all right. He wasn't. He was.
Who was the other one? Sorry, it was the
Eduardo was good. He was Brazilian, but he played for Croatia.
Yeah.
Good so player. Denilson, Eduardo, and Eduardo.
Eduardo got 2, and Denilson
got 1.
Right.
Okay.
Good old Denilson.
And here's one more final quick. So that was the away leg in the League Cup. What was the score at the Emirates, Dan? It was 3-0 in the League Cup away. What was the Emirates score?
I'll say 2-0.
Jason?
3-1.
6-0.
6-0.
We used to beat away teams like this. Yeah, 6-0.
Yeah, no, I do vaguely remember that one actually. Yeah, God, the good old days.
There we are. So
I need to brush up on my Arsenal history. I'm sorry.
Just a quick brief overview of the history for captaincies. So Wilson, 3 starts, 1 sub-appearance, 1 goal. Kane, 3 starts, 1 sub, 1 goal. Son, 4 starts, 4 goals, 1 assist. Aguero, 2 starts, 2 sub-appearances, 1 goal, 1 assist. Kevin De Bruyne, 4 starts, 1 sub-appearance, he's got 2 goals, 2 assists. And Sterling, this is the big one, 5 starts, 1 sub-appearance, and he's got 6 goals. And he does seem to get the old double goal in there. So, yeah, we're all set for Gameweek 9. There's our predictions, everybody. And Jason, what's up next, my friend?
What, in terms of where we're going in the podcast?
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Well, we're going to talk about our teams.
All doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if Dan wants to go first. If he's post a screenshot in.
Absolutely, the guest.
Dan, have you posted a screenshot at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Posted just before we started.
Let me just find it then and bring it up on the old monitor then. So Dan, are you confident going into game week 9 for your team?
I've got to be confident. The last game week was the worst game week of the season so far. I got 29 points. It was absolutely abysmal. So in a way, the international qualifiers come at a really good time because it was just such a terrible game week. I just wanted a break from FPL. So I did my transfers today. Took out Pookie, took out Dinya, took out Mo Salah. So I brought in Vardy, Mane, and Tomori. So I finally got rid of Mo Salah, and this is probably when he'll get a hat-trick at Old Trafford on Sunday afternoon.
Why have you done that for?
So I bought Pookie in my wild card several weeks ago, and it just hasn't. I just got onto that one way too late, and I'm looking at Vardy's fixtures going forward, and I think he is essential. I'll say that live on air now. I think Vardy going forward is now essential, considering Leicester's fixtures, and I needed, because obviously Pookie was at 7 million to get to Vardy's 9 million, and needed more money, so I kind of downgraded Salah to Mane. At the moment, with how it's gone this season, I think Mane is an upgrade, but obviously saves that little bit more money. And then I'm it's funny how we always say about play the game your own way. I'm gone back to playing the game my own way, which is always like, I like my, top heavy team of premium forwards. I had Dinya in, I've had Trent Alexander-Arnold in earlier in the season. I've had all these expensive defenders. And then just the returns have come from like cheap defenders like Lundstrom, Kelly getting returns, being on my bench. And I just thought, I've got City coverage there. I've got Chelsea coverage. Chelsea got a nice run of fixtures going forward. Why not get him in? He's been starting. He got a call up to the England team. I look at my team now. I'm really happy with my attack. Aubameyang, Vardy are the main men for their teams. Pretty much, touch wood, nailed starters, barring any injury, of course. And then I look at my midfield. McGinn's been really good this season. The rest speaks for itself. Cantwell's still in there. That's a bit of a bother, but I didn't really think it was worth taking an 8-point hit because obviously I saved a free transfer from before. So I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I'm sticking with 3-5-2. Obviously, I used to love my little 3-4-3, but yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Where are you ranked in the world, Dan, for the audience to know?
Jesus Christ. I'm just outside the top 1 million. 1 million, 2,000. Oh, I can't even read it now. 26,896. So yeah, just outside the top 1 million. So yeah, I need to get back up, and I think I've been toying with so many different things over the last week. I mean, I was going to get Jimenez in at one point. I still think that could bite me in the arse. There's a bit of a differential. Obviously, Abraham, lots of people getting them in. I was thinking about getting Mount back in. If I got Abraham in.
Nasu's in chat saying, no Chelsea attack, ? Yeah, like you're just touching on it now, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was a bit of a toss-up. I could have... Obviously, I was always going to take out Pookie. I could have swapped him for Abraham, and then I've had more money to upgrade Cantwell to like Mount or something like that. And I could have gone triple Chelsea at one point. So can't have it all. But I just think with those fixtures going forward over the next sort of like 8 to 10 games, Vardy, barring any injury, he's kind of essential going forward. So I've just gone with my gut. The way I see it, Aubameyang, Vardy, I feel safe with those guys in my team. I feel safe with Mane in my team, and then everything else around that, I've just got to adapt to it over the next few game weeks. But I'm just worried about Abraham because he's been punishing me all season, and I've got a horrible feeling on Saturday he could punish me again. But I just think going forward, with his record in FPL, Vardy is the one to go with. Play your own game.
Play your own game. Yeah, hashtag play your own game, gee whiz. Absolutely. Hello, FPL lad, how you doing? Saying he's going to stick with Chelsea attacking assets only. Chelsea have got the third worst expected goals conceded. There we go. Rip all of you Tomori owners out there. No, but, I mean it's okay. I mean, you got got Cantwell, who's gonna you want to probably move on. So you're gonna stick. What formation are you looking to try and play going forward then?
I mean, obviously that team with the screenshot, that's it at the moment, 3-5-2. You know, I used to love my 3-4-3. I started the season trying to be really balanced with a balanced team. But yeah, 3-5-2 at the moment. I mean, if I look on the bench, I've obviously got Lundstrom. Obviously, Kelly's going there, Greenwood's going there. I could play Lundstrom, but it's either Lundstrom or Cantwell. I've kept faith with Sterling because I think he played well for England. I think he played well against the Czech Republic, even though we had a bad result there. Played really well against Bulgaria. Obviously, everything that happened there was really bad, really disgraceful, but he'd still played really well. So that'll be a good test of his character coming through back to Man City now. So kept faith with. I couldn't get rid of Sterling and get rid of Salah. I feel the thing with FPL is it can psychologically scar you. And last season, I got rid of Salah and then he just went on this crazy run. So I'm worried about that again. But I think just getting Mane in there, Vardy, Aubameyang, it's just guys that I think are going to deliver. So I'm happy with it, you know.
No, I mean, I think you've got, a lot of the... I mean, I'm jealous of your Sterling and Aubameyang ownership, to be honest with you. I don't own either of those. And to a lesser extent, Vardy as well. I think he'll tick over some points for you. So you've got Sterling, Vardy, Aubameyang, Mane, De Bruyne, McGinn. I'm a fan of McGinn. I really do like him. Thank you ever so much, Plavakdas. Thank you ever so much for that subscribe. No, and I mean, Otamendi, you wouldn't be too surprised, would you, to see him get a clean sheet in that game? Loughton, we all know about Loughton, don't we, Steve-O? The assist king.
I've seen FPL lad calling out Sterling in chat. Who does FPL lad support?
I think he's
Palace.
Is
okay,
he?
Okay.
Oh, is he Palace? Is he? Okay, there you go. But no, it's not a bad team at all. It's not a bad team. De Bruyne is going to be fit. Cantwell, who knows? He may get you something. Bournemouth's defence is exactly amazing. So if that's assuming he plays, yeah, I won't be too worried, Dan. So yeah.
Cool.
Did you say you took a hit?
Yeah, I took a -4 hit.
-4.
As I said, which national team does he play for? Spain or France? Didn't you? I keep forgetting.
France.
Yeah, it's just because
what makes you think he plays for Spain?
I always used to. The last podcast I did, I said he was Spanish. That was the very last one I did. I said, and then I got all that stick in the chat. I was just surprised that he never got the international call up, but oh well, I don't know.
Why has he not been called up for Spain? For God's sake! Right. Anyway. Okay. So yeah, are you done talking about your team?
Yeah, I'm done. Like I say, I just want to say about Digne. I'm just disappointed with Everton assets this season. I remember at the start of the season, I was thinking Everton were going to be really good, and I had Richarlison, Sigurdsson in at one point, and Digne. Like all these expensive defenders. I've just gone back to the old school and I've just thought, you know what? I'll have my cheap, mid-price defenders and just go top heavy. So let's see how it works.
Definitely. Right, Steve-O, your thoughts on Dan's team?
Yeah, it sounds very similar to my wildcard team that's in the chat at the moment. Not the chat, the Discord at the moment.
Let's go on to Steve-O's team. I know he's dying to talk about it. You'll be hearing a lot more about Steve-O's team come Saturday morning when he does a live stream to reveal all.
Yes. Put up should be a 3-4-3 with Vardy, Aubameyang, and Abraham up front. Is that right?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, changed. I'm a bit thick, really. But the other day when I did a live stream, I did the triple A. I had Aguero, Aubameyang, and Abraham up front. I don't know what to do, really. I'm going to do
a lot of blues in that team.
Saturday, but it's sorry.
I just see loads of blue shirts in that team. It's like, how many Chelsea players are in that team? Whoa!
Yeah, well,
Leicester and Chelsea.
I think Chelsea are the ones to own. I'm probably not going to end up owning any Leicester assets other than maybe a defender in Soyuncu or Pereira. Probably Soyuncu to free up funds. I think for me, I want to have Trent Alexander-Arnold. He looks like he's going to rise in price either tonight or tomorrow. I can't afford to miss out on 0.1 not having him. So I think he's almost certainly going to be in my team. Just like Dan, I think having Mane in the team, the better option. In fact, Dan, I'll ask you again, even though Emre has come out and said words to the effect of, we're going to see how Lacazette is feeling, but reality is that I don't think he'll play. Your thoughts on Lacazette, Dan, moving forward, instead of having Aubameyang?
Yeah, John Harris was just asking me about it in chat. I mean, before he got injured, he was playing really well. Scored a brilliant goal against Spurs. I just thought I'd mention that, Boona. But no, he's been in great form. And when he links up with Aubameyang, I think actually, to be honest with you, like particularly that last game against Bournemouth, when Lacazette plays, he makes Aubameyang better, and Aubameyang's going to score more because Lacazette's got that power, that strength, that work rate, and he can hold it up, and we look a much better team with him in. So, if you're looking for that kind of just below the premium striker budget and you want to go for a bit of a gamble, Lacazette's a decent one, and the fixtures going forward for us are good. I mean, obviously we're still in this bloody Europa League, and you got to think about that rotation and things like that, but Emre's been given a chances to like Saka. Martinelli's looked good in the Europa League. So I think once Lacazette's back, once he's fit, it's worth a gamble. And I've got to say, it's not really related, but the next time France announce their squad, he needs to be in that squad ahead of Giroud. Lacazette is better than Giroud. He needs to be in that France squad, back in the Arsenal team. And a great option.
So in one word, yes or no, would you take Lacazette over Aubameyang?
Yes, take a gamble. Yeah, go for it.
Very.
I mean, I've got Aubameyang in because obviously Lacazette wasn't fit at that time. Looked at the fixtures going ahead. He was a joint top scorer with Mane and Salah last season. But why not take that risk? Because not everyone's going to be punting. The ownership's lower. It's worth a gamble, I think, definitely. Either him or Vardy.
Barnes has literally stolen the words out of my mouth. Steve-O, I like the team, but you're relying on Leicester and Chelsea way too much. I really do think. I think he's got a point.
Whoa. Number one, Chelsea are one of the most attacking teams in the Premier League at the moment. Right. Is that the team with Tomori or with Hudson-Odoi? I can't remember.
You got the team with Tomori, Mount.
Yeah, I actually think I may actually end up with Hudson-Odoi. I just think Hudson-Odoi is just looking back. In fact, one of our regulars, Shaban, whatever, he made the point. He's going to have Hudson-Odoi once he's fit, and guess what? He's fit. He's been playing very well for Chelsea, and for 5.9 million, I'd rather have him over Maddison. I really would. I'd rather have, for attacking coverage from Leicester, of the two out of Maddison and Vardy, it would be Vardy. But to be honest with you,
sorry, finish your point. Sorry, Steve.
But to be honest with you, I don't like Leicester full stop, apart from their defence. And I'd rather just go with... I've made this point 50,000 times. I can't be bothered to go over it again. But essentially, the points just come from all over the place from Leicester. You can't rely on one particular player. 1 week it's Maddison, the other week it's Vardy, so on and so forth.
But you've got both of them in.
Yeah, but again, I'm only playing the price.
Yeah, no, I think that who was it that just hit the nail on the head? Jacko in chat is he's just made a really good point here. Looking good. The team's looking good. Maybe switch Vardy to Wilson and Soyuncu to Pereira, and those two moves for me are just
I'm actually. It's again, but I generally do think I'm going to end up with AAA. I think, as I mentioned on the stream the other day, when I hit the confirm button on AAA, I'm just looking at thinking, I'm just happy with that team moving into the game week. Like every single game week, it's like I've got Aguero, Aubameyang, and Abraham up front. We've discussed to death about defensive assets not really worth it this year. Maybe Trent Alexander-Arnold. In fact, probably Trent Alexander-Arnold is worth every penny. But barring that, you could probably have the rest of your defences cheapies. I didn't like having the Sells in my team, despite Newcastle having some decent fixtures. So I thought, you know what, I'd rather have Tomori or whatever. But I'm just kind of playing the price rise game, despite it completely failing and backfiring on me. But watch on Saturday. That's what I'll say. Just watch on Saturday and see the pick. But at the end of the day, like Dan's already said, play your own game. And I'm going into this wild card thinking, I don't give a damn about what anybody says to me. I am just... Because no one listens. No one listens to anything we say. It's just, do what I say instead. It's pathetic. It's just like the wall. If it's better, you just
okay.
play it out on the live. Do it as I do on the live stream. Just go, these are my thought processes. This is what I'm going to do. If you have some actual constructive input into what I'm doing, by all means, I'll listen. But please don't come on and go, that's rubbish, that's good. That's not anything constructive. It's not information what I need to hear. If you're happy to give me some genuine constructive criticism, whatever, I'll listen to it, take it on board. But reality, I'm pretty happy. I'm probably going to end up doing AAA. But like I said, you'll find out on Saturday morning when I do the deadline day at 10 o'clock. So, yeah.
I was going to say, Steve, I mean, on that sort of line of thought, what about Maddison? Because, like, do you think he's going to deliver? Is he kind of...
He's not consistent enough for me. Like I said, it's the same with Vardy. We went through his real life statistics. It's just blank, blank goal, blank, blank goal. I'm not interested in that. I want players that are just consistently going to be returning for me. Aguero, Aubameyang, Abraham is pretty much a goal every game, or a minimum of some form of attacking returns every single game. And I'm sick to death this season of just getting the captaincy wrong. And I'm in desperate need. I'm in need of turning this season around, because it's just like with a lot of people, it's just driving me up the wall. That each week I seem to have a team which I'm like, do you know what? I'm pretty happy with. I reckon I could get X amount of points with this, and it completely falls flat on its face. And yeah, it's just extremely frustrating this season play. I mean, I know FPL Boone is feeling exactly the same as me, and he feels like, you know what, this almost feels like a write-off this season, because you just cannot seem to do anything right. I mean, it may just end up where I just end up captaining Kevin De Bruyne, having a 2-week break, and it'll come back with, I reckon it'll come back with a bang and just stick it on him, to be honest with you, because the captaincy history, pretty good for him. So
I'm just going to say to everyone that's suggesting these changes in chat for Steve-O, reiterating the point that this is purely a price rise sort of team that he's looking to capture price rises with at the moment. His final draft will be pretty much at the wire on Saturday. From Saturday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, probably around that time, Steve-O will be live, and he'll be doing the countdown to the game. To the game updating, essentially. So if you want to go through the roller coaster of emotion with him, because I'm sure he's probably going to be making a few switches out, and who knows, his team may not look as dark blue as it does now. But yeah, don't worry too much, guys. It's still a work in progress. I never get my captaincy right for 7 weeks out of 9. Yeah, you're not in it. Yeah, it's quite a few people in that boat. Great, that's my move. Sorted out. Is that you, Llama? All right, you're going to go out Friday night, are you? Hope don't get too drunk now. Okay, so that's pretty much sums up your team pretty well. Would you like to know what I've done to mine?
Well, I already know, but yeah, by all means, reveal to the audience.
Well, I've played my wild card. Oh no, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. No, so my team, it's pretty boring compared to yours, to be honest. So I played my free hit last week. You're probably thinking, what are you playing at? You're right, it failed. And we'll move on from that. So let's just bring it up. Season over and all that, hashtag. If I listen to all these people in chat, they'd probably tell me to quit the game. Right, so this is my team for game week 9, guys. All right, so I made a few transfers. I made a few chops and changes to my team. I consider them. Wow. I don't really know. I thought I was doing the right thing. So let's just go through the changes that I did for game week 9. I took Adrian out of my team, and I brought in the mighty Ramsdale for budget reasons, of course. I took out Digne, and I brought in Soyuncu. I took out Dan James, who's probably going to score against Liverpool. Well, he's injured, so he won't. And I brought in Mason Mount. I took out Pookie, and I brought in Callum Wilson. My team now. So for those of you that know or don't know maths, that is a -12.
Wow.
So Steve-O's getting closer, and I'm getting.
Hold on. I need to change one of this team.
Yeah. Let me just get this out there. So People complaining to me about the fact that, oh, you got Maddison, you got Vardy, you shouldn't be having them. Have a word with Jason. -12 after doing -16, royal card, free hit, triple captaincy. Have a go.
Have a go.
Word with him.
They have had a go at me, Steve-O. Where have you been?
He's had more hits than Stevie Wonder,
Look, you know, I'm literally your flak cannon, Steve-O. You know, when you think you're having a bad game week, no one gives you that much grief because they're all giving it to me because I'm the one doing crazy things. I think you're a bit too hard on yourself there. No, but this team, I think Matip's kind of declared himself fit for the United game. I'm hoping he plays. I've got a good suspicion he will. If not, I've got Loughton on the bench to come in, which isn't great, but he's there ready and waiting if needed. I've got Rico. I'm scraping the barrel right now. I am really scraping the Mac saying Jason knows what he's doing. It's okay, don't worry. He doesn't need these chips. It's true, chat. I don't need these chips. You know, I'm still going to be alright. I'll still be ahead of Steve-O at the end of this game week. It's fine, don't worry.
Cool.
Sayenku at home to Burnley. In
fact, I'll call it now. You'll probably get more points after the -12 than my wildcard team will get in total. So yeah, I'll call it now. That's what will probably happen. But yeah, go on, Jason.
I think a lot of people are going to be taking hits. So I'm hoping that the kind of logic that I'm trying to convince myself that my -12 is possibly only a -8 may or may not come true. But I'm looking at my team. I've got some hopes, and I really am hoping that Matip will play. I'm hoping that Son will play a good portion of the game versus Watford. I know he came back late from international duty. I'm pretty confident De Bruyne will play the whole game, and I may probably just put the armband on him. To be honest with you, I'm very close to just putting the armband on De Bruyne. Even though I've got Abraham and Callum Wilson in my team, we'll get to those. We've got Mane there. I don't think there's going to be many goals in that game against United, guys. I really don't. I predicted a 0-0. I know some of you guys are thinking that Liverpool are just going to walk over United. I don't think it's going to be a case, especially if Romero's playing in goal. I do like Romero. Abraham at front with Callum Wilson and Aguero. Currently captain on Aguero. Big question mark. Obviously had that crash, but he trained after that. I don't think it's going to impact his playing ability in any way, shape or form. There's always worry with Jesus' minutes there as well. Callum Wilson, Abraham or De Bruyne for me, guys. That is the choice.
It's a case of going with the history, and Kevin De Bruyne is your man. Who did you say you brought Wilson in for? Pukki?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at those transfers. The only one that sticks out to me is Ramsdale. Could you not get a better goalkeeper in?
Because Ryan's gone up in price. What's he now? 4.7.
Yes.
Yeah. Ryan's back up to 4.7. I didn't like the look of many of the others, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a punt and go double Bournemouth defence. There we go. I really am jinxing myself now, getting rid of Pukki and having double Bournemouth. But yeah, people are saying in chat, Captain Wilson or Abraham. Another Hoops is saying Wilson. Wilson captain says notorious nerd. Imagine using your free hit before Christmas and calling yourself FPL Elite. Well, I kind of... it worked for me last year. So yeah. Imagine Pat Cassidy, you using your free hit on a blank game week and not scoring as many points as me. Imagine that. Right.
Oh,
imagine.
Imagine all the people.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's a John Lennon hit, wasn't it? Yeah. No, we're gonna just kind of just forget about this now. This team is not important. Let's look forward and see if we've got anyone that wants to come on the show this evening. No one in the waiting room. Okay, well that solves that then. Steve-O, next topic of conversation. Far away.
I suppose we'll get to what's seen as Dan's a special guest on the show and everything. Obviously, we're going to be covering our 1 year anniversary on the 1st of November, but just some quick thoughts on like how you've seen the development of the Elite FPL podcast over the past 4 months or so. It'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this and the fact you're broadcasting to 100 odd people right now.
240.
Yeah, I mean it's
We've got 240 people watching Steve-O and Dan. Well, Steve-O on a Tesco mobile. Actually, no, that's doing Tesco injustice. What would you say, Steve-O? It's probably more like Primark. Primark internet. Yeah. Primark internet. No, actually, funny enough, since you did that thing, whatever you've done, just your phone has been fine. Your phone has been perfectly fine. We've not skipped anything.
Same position.
Don't move your phone. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, going back to it, I mean, yeah, it's just the evolution of it. It's absolutely crazy. Obviously, since a couple of years ago, literally in my bedroom, filming, the podcast off my phone and sticking it on the Facebook group that we did for the mini league that we're in, and yeah, I mean, just obviously the support from the community, the willingness of people within the community to help support the growth of the channel. I think that's been a massive part with the moderators and everything like that, and just basically change the game, with the Discord and getting people on. That's just a completely different dynamic, and it's just added so much. I mean, obviously being on the podcast, now being a viewer and being involved in a different way, it is interesting because I just personally, I can't listen to any other FPL content, and that's not in a disrespectful way, but it's just because there's that interactive aspect of it, and that's what really makes it immersive, because you're going to be going there with familiar faces in the chat, familiar people in the Discord. You always know you got help and support if you are, and also you just have a good old laugh as well when you go in there with the banter and everything about teams and stuff, and just to have your voice, really, I think. And obviously the work that you guys put in, obviously I know the work you both put in, and yeah, you just deserve it all, really. So yeah, just I don't know, man. I said I said 10K by the end of the season, but yeah, the channel's just growing exponentially, and yeah, just keep it up.
Yeah.
And you're just another question, like moving it back to football and everything. How have you found the season so far? The fact that Liverpool have won every single game, and Man City have had a bit of a blip and are now 8 points behind Liverpool, of course, and Arsenal. Your thoughts on Arsenal as well?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, Liverpool obviously won the Champions League last season. Man City won the league. I think possibly Man City are really going to go for the Champions League this season. There could be something in that, and Liverpool really want to get that, like that monkey off the back and finally win the league. And obviously Klopp's got experience of doing that with Dortmund in the Bundesliga. So it is interesting, but I feel like the teams below Liverpool and Man City are just they're just falling over each other. Chelsea have obviously got this massive transitional period with a new manager and the transfer ban, and I really don't like Chelsea.
They seem to be doing fine for me.
Yeah, they do seem to be doing well, and it's even though I actually hate Chelsea, but I have to say that I kind of admire Lampard, and I kind of like Mount and Abraham, maybe because they play for England as well, I suppose, and it's nice to see young English players coming through. It's good for the national team, and it's just nice to see. For me, it's always nice to see players connected to the club and they're coming back. And yeah, you've got to begrudgingly admire Chelsea for what they're doing at the moment. And yeah, I mean, with us, I mean, at the moment, I think a lot of Arsenal fans are feeling that we don't really have an identity in terms of our playing style. I mean, whatever you say about Wenger, and I know he stayed on for too long, but it was the playing style. You always knew that Arsenal playing style, even the years we didn't win trophies, all these players like Fabregas, Nasri, Van Persie, all these kind of guys that, we played some really good football still. And now it's more pragmatic. It's about pressing. It's about getting the results and everything. We've got good individual players, but I don't really know what Arsenal's style is. And it just seems to be individual brilliance from Lacazette and Aubameyang and certain other players from time to time gets us over the line. And it's kind of, I don't know.
Does Emery have a game plan per se? Or is he do you think he just says, go out and win the game?
I think he's very much on the players that are going to work hard, pressing players. The good thing I like about Emery is giving the young players a chance, like Saka and Willock. I always said like I wasn't before the start of the season. I was just like, I just want to see like those guys, Maitland-Niles, Saka, Willock, Reece Nelson, Smith Rowe. I just want to see them get a chance and see them play well. My favourite moment of the season so far is when Willock tackled Shelby. When Shelby side tackled him, nearly put him in the advertising hoardings, and then Willock got up, chased after him, and slide tackled him back. And Emery was just pumping his fist on the sideline. That's what I like to see. So I think that's what I want to see more of. And
a bit more fight.
Yeah, they've been showing the fight. It's just I don't know. I think we might just about make the top 4, but particularly that game away to Watford, it was just that second half was terrible. And then since then, it's been it's a little bit cagey.
I think the defence just needs to start, strengthening up. Now you've got.
Linking it into FPL. Tierney didn't join the Scotland squad. Scotland still might be able to qualify for the Euros, even though they keep losing 4-0, but they still might be able to qualify. But Tierney's should be playing against Sheffield United. He's 5.4 million, and the games in the Europa League and the Carabao Cup, he's been playing really well, and he's a player with a lot of potential with those assists, with his crossing ability. So that is a guy to watch, definitely. That could be one if you're feeling a bit risky ahead of the curve. Kolasinac did play for his national team, and Emery was saying, look, obviously Kolasinac has played. Tierney hasn't. Tierney was involved in the game against Reading. So, yeah, could be worth a gamble.
Boone, Tierney, everyone keeps raving about him. It'd be interesting to see how he does in Arsenal. And we've got FPL Booner in chat saying, by the way, guys, I have Wan-Bissaka as my first sub. Make of that what you will. I can't believe you still own him. I think he'll come on and get him 6 points. My 0-0 could be. I'm very mindful. We've got quite a few people in the waiting room to come on now. Hopefully Dan will be able to hear them. Steve-O, I know you're going to have the information relayed to you because you're now on mobile, but you are in HD, you are audible, so it's all good. We're going to bring on Stein first and foremost. We're going to get all of you on, so don't worry. The one and only Stein. Hopefully, Stein, you can hear us. How you doing? Good evening, Stein. Good evening. How you doing, Stein?
Oh, not too bad, mate. Hang on, bear with me a second.
No problem. I'm bearing with.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
How's life, Stein? I noticed you've become a member to the channel. Thank you ever so much for that.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. To be honest with you, sorry.
Carry on.
No. To be honest with you, Jason, I looked at it really, and I thought to myself, what took you guys so long? To be honest, I thought to myself, well, the shows that you give the community, let's just say, I'd pay for them anyway because they're just full of fun and information. So yeah, I'm quite happy to become a member.
I know that it's been. I just want to get it off my chest. It's been obviously the reception of it has been kind of a bit mixed. I know a few people have been a bit kind of wary about us offering channel memberships and having perks with it. We've obviously had meetings with community members and with moderators in Discord about what we want to do to kind of reward people for being a member of the channel, and just want to put it out there now that for the viewers of the show, absolutely nothing is going to change whatsoever. Absolutely nothing. There are plans in place to just put, a few extra things for people. I mean, the badges, the emojis, and it's just amazing that we've got your support. I mean, we've only had it for a few days. The answer to your question is why have we had it for longer is purely because the channel wasn't eligible, and we never really envisaged the growth that we've had. But it's interesting. Dan, you're typing. It's very loud. But it's just interesting to see those badges in chat. It's interesting to see Anish, who's just now become a member as well. Thank you so much, Anish, for hitting that member button. And I just think it's cool. Like, I'm thinking about getting it just because I'm like used to playing Call of Duty and like having the, like, I think Steve was saying about the prestige badges that you used to get. I think it's quite cool for, like, just for the $1.99. I think it's quite fun. But there's going to be more stuff. It's all listed in there. I'm not going to promote it anymore because I know people get upset about it. But thank you ever so much, Anish. Thank you ever so much, Stein. Steve-O.
All I'll add to that is that just stay tuned with information about what myself and Jason are going to be doing with the membership. That's all we can say at the moment, but it's going to be worth your while. That's all myself and Jason can give out at the moment. But we're not forcing you to take the membership.
No.
We really do appreciate the fact that people like yourself, Stein and Anish, are taking it upon themselves to just simply say thank you. Really, like Jason said, it's just a small token of appreciation, and we're holding a gun over his head and forcing or sticking a pillow over people's heads to make them get older. But all we'll say is that stay tuned because we've got some big things for that membership, and it's going to be fun. Let's
exciting times. And again, yeah.
Yes.
So Stein, are you set for game week 9? Are you there, Stein? Can you hear me?
I can't hear it.
Stein, are you there? Oh no, Stein. Not again, Stein.
Can you hear him?
I heard him originally, yeah. But
I can't. Sorry, I don't know why I can't.
Oh no, Stein. Okay, let's see if we can get you back, Stein. Hang on one moment. Stein, can you hear me? Stein, talk to me. Hello, Stein. Speak now or forever hold your peace, Stein. He's trying to talk. I can see he's trying to talk, but we can't hear you at the moment. Hopefully, you can sort it out. We'll get you back. We've got Anish. Anish is in the waiting room. Anish, good evening. Thank you for becoming a member first and foremost. What made you hit the member button? Just out of curiosity.
Nothing. I just want to support the channel, really. To be fair, because I always come in and you always listening to the community and having everyone's opinions on. So it's nice to show a bit of appreciation back.
No, but we're very appreciative of your support, and we're looking to do great things for this channel and move forward and make big things. But I've got your team, and it's looking good. And I want to say a massive thank you to you for everything you've done to support the show. But moving on to your team, you've got Ryan in goal, a goalkeeper that I have wanted to have back in my team since early in the season. You've got Van Dijk. You've got the double up of Liverpool against away at Man United. So you're confident then that United have got no threat whatsoever against Liverpool this coming game week?
Well, I'm a United fan, but I don't think that we're going to score against Liverpool, especially if Pogba's out, De Gea's out, James is out. So then who's really going to provide any sort of quality?
Yes, it's true. I mean, you've got the Otamendi in there as well. Have you done any transfers, Anish?
No, I've got 2 free transfers to use.
You've got 2 free transfers to use. It's going to be Cantwell and Pukki, is it?
I'm actually keeping Pukki for this week.
Oh, okay.
Because I've only had him for 2 game weeks so far, so I have a theory that I keep a player for at least 3 game weeks before I bin him.
Oh, okay. I'm listening. So what's your thoughts process then in moving out players and over the next few weeks?
To be honest, I'm actually unsure what to do with my free transfer. So I was thinking just doing Van Dijk to Robertson because I've got exact money to do that.
Van Dijk to Robertson. Well, I just think that bring your team back up actually. So. We'll
do something like Greenwood to Connolly.
I think that's too much of a sideways move, Van Dijk to Robertson, to be honest with you. I think that's a bit of a, I dare to say it, a bit of a waste of a transfer. Steve-O, would you say, Anish is here, he's got 2 free transfers. His team's on the screen, I've read out the team. He's on about using one of his transfers, Van Dijk to Robertson, to pair up with Alexander-Arnold and Salah. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a waste?
Is this to free up funds to fund for someone else?
No, he's not going to free up any funds if he's going to go Van Dijk to Robertson, is he?
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Robertson down to Van Dijk. No, I wouldn't bother. It's just a wasted transfer. I would stick with Van Dijk. I don't know what Robertson has done exactly to to make you think that he's worth bringing in. I would, based on what I've just heard, I certainly think getting off the Pookie and Cantwell a bandwagon, whatever you call it. I think that's worth doing, but it's a question of who to bring in because Cantwell's just so cheap at the moment.
Is it just me or I can't hear Steve at all?
Yeah,
so
you can't see it. It's just So Steve-O's on his mobile phone, so he can't join Discord.
Oh, right.
But
Okay, yeah.
no, he's
Yeah,
just
fine.
saying that he'd rather take out Pookie and Cantwell over 1 or 2 weeks than to take out Van Dijk and bring in Robertson. It's a bit too much of a sideway, but he's agreeing with me. Dan, I take it you can hear Anish and you've heard his thoughts.
Yeah, sorry, Anish, I can't hear you. I can
Really?
see the team. No, I really.
Have you
honestly,
got him
it's just
turned
silent.
down?
No, I haven't.
You need to go to your settings on Discord, and I think you need to change your audio settings. So go to your user settings and select your audio output to be the right device. No, but Anish, your captain is on Abraham at the moment. How likely is it that you're going to keep your armband on him?
Well, I'm taking a different approach to captain this season. So for the first 6, I just basically look at a block of fixtures, the team that has a block of fixtures, of good fixtures, and I pick one player and stick with that for that whole block of fixtures.
Right. So what you're suggesting is that Abraham's going to be your captain going forward for quite a few games.
Up until game week 13.
Up until game week 13. Okay. Wow. Okay. And
when the Liverpool fixtures change.
So you're a fixtures over form kind of guy then, are you?
Yeah, I'm just basically backing the fixtures.
Well, I would say that I
picked Sterling the first 6 game weeks.
He's still in good form, though, isn't he, Abraham? So
I've got Abraham now, so hopefully. But I'm a bit wary of the Man City game against Aston Villa and Southampton after this week.
Yeah, but if you're going to have
that's my only slight worry.
I mean, it's high risk, but good reward if Abraham gets a brace or a hat trick, and those Man City players are getting the points shared around different players in the team. So yeah,
plus Man City have like 7 games in the space of 21 days.
Yeah,
so
the rotation.
Rotation's going to be
absolutely
a hassle.
We've got Pat Cassidy in chat. He's asking, presumably asking you, if you're captaining Abraham, why have you spent so much in Sterling, Salah, and KDB? It's just to cover their points.
Just because they're guaranteed.
Who else are you going to bring in?
They're like consistent players that always get points, and I've had them since game week 1.
Well, I suppose you're not spending big on your attack. Then it would make sense to invest that money into your midfield, wouldn't it? I mean, I guess essentially you've got money invested all over your team. It's a very, very balanced team that I see there in front of me. No, and I think I like your bold move on sticking with Abraham going forward. Let's hope. I mean, is it one of those things that after a couple of game weeks, if Abraham doesn't perform as well as you would expect, that that theory of just sticking with the block fixtures, or are you going to be resolute to that strategy and keep the armband on him during those fixtures after game week 13?
I'm going to be resolute with that strategy because at the moment his stats are up there with like Aguero, if not better.
And he's got his more
other top players like Sterling.
He's going to get more minutes, you would imagine, as well over the next 4 or 5 game weeks. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about him missing chances because he's getting so many chances that if he misses, he's going to put away at least 1 in 4 chances, and he's getting 2 or 3 chances a game. So a goal every 2 games at that price point is not a bad return.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anish, for coming on this evening.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you again for all your support. I really appreciate it.
That's
Thank
all
you.
right.
Thank you.
No worries. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
That was Anish. He's got a game plan. He's sticking with it. He's got a very heavy hit in midfield. He's got 2 free transfers. He's not taking point hits, and he's doing better than me. So well done, Anish. We've got FPL Aguero. FPL Aguero's been waiting to come on. Good evening, FPL Aguero. How you doing?
Good evening, fellas. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Steve-O, I'm going to have to relay information to Steve-O. You may or may not know that. But we've got Dan with us tonight. While I get your team up, would you like to?
-8.
Yeah, so you've done a -8, FPL Aguero.
Yeah, you were right. You told me to come on for the Cleverly. You were right on that. Backfired for me, but
I'm right about something. It's nice to know that. Thank you.
Yeah. The logic was if Watford were going to survive in the league, they're going to have to beat Sheffield United at home, and I think they're in trouble.
Right, so I don't know what's happened with Dan's webcam's gone all weird. Let me just see if we can sort that out. But I've got your team in front of me now. Roberto in goal. So in the absence of Fabianski, you've gone with Roberto. Pereira, Otamendi, Tomori. Let's just quickly sorry, Dan, I'm just going to have to shrink you down. What's going on with your webcam, dude? You got all...
What do you mean?
Oh, you got a massive... There we go.
Massive what?
You've gone all big. It's me talking about Pereira. Right, anyway, there we go. So Pereira, very good team. I like the team here, Aguero. So you've got the armband on Sterling. You took a -8. Who were the players you took out? I'm assuming was it Norwich players by any chance?
I didn't have Norwich, so I know I'm FPL Aguero, but Aguero's gone to Abraham, gone to Madison, and Son is gone to Sterling.
Whoa! Who went for Madison? Cleverly to Madison. So you got Aguero to Abraham, Cleverly to Madison, and Son to Sterling. I like those moves. I really like those moves. For -8, I do like those moves. I think, you're going to captain Sterling, I presume.
I got 1.8 million in the bank with team value of 103.4, and Soyuncu to on next move, but we'll see what happens.
Wow. I mean, it's interesting seeing Haller in your team, however, as you say, Haller. How do you feel he's going to do going forward?
I just stuck with him, like everyone getting rid of him, but I watched the home game against Palace. He should have scored. I don't know how he didn't score that game, but...
What's so the guys in chat are quite bewildered that you'd call yourself FPL Aguero and take Aguero out of your team, especially involving a -8 as well. It's Scott Speed 1000 in chat saying that's a risky transfer, taking Aguero out. I think the players you brought in could well cover those points. With the uncertainty around Son, Cleverly isn't going to do anything for you. I would hazard a guess that over the next few game weeks, Maddison's going to outscore Cleverly quite some by more than those 8 points anyway. So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But yeah, again, another hoops. FPL Aguero doesn't have Aguero. My mind is blown. Well, you have to change your name, aren't you now? Surely to FPL Abraham or something. FPL Sterling, yeah. Or Haller, yeah. So
I think he's got Newcastle next week, Haller. He's got nice fixtures. People were getting rid of him last week, but he delivered away when he played. And he doesn't score. He maybe gets an assist, but he contributes like 5-6 points here and there.
No, I think he's a solid player, and I mean you've got the double up there with Roberto as well. You're on about the fixtures, obviously. The unfortunate injury to Fabianski. You'd be hoping for Roberto to get those save points and all clean sheet points. Yeah, I mean I like the team. I think you've taken we've taken a 4 point less hit than I have. So I think judging on merit, I think you're in a good stead for Gameweek 9, and I look forward to hear how you do.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, dude. Thank you ever so much. Right, Steve, next caller. I'm gonna relay. I said rehab. I said rehab. I'm gonna go FPL rehab.
We will be in FPL rehab by the end of the season. That'll be a new channel. Don't worry.
Dan, what is going on with your internet, mate? I can hear you fine, but you're going big, mate. I don't know. Hang on, let me just see if I can.
Well, it's bringing back the nostalgia from last season, isn't it? Because obviously it's a special occasion. So my internet's got.
It was doing so well. That was it was doing really well. But it's right. So let's. I don't know. I give up. Chat. I give up. We've got literally like a sliver. Right, Dan, move to your right. Bit more. Bit more. No, a bit more.
I literally at the end of my desk.
There you go, Dan. There we go. We can see you now. Right. Let's bring Chab on the stream. Chab, you've been waiting in the waiting room patiently. You got yourself muted. Are you there, Chab?
Guys, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, Chab. Are you looking forward to Game Week 9? Are you all set?
Yeah, it's been a long, drawn-out break, I think, for a lot of us. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to it and getting back into a bit of FPL and Premier League in general, yeah.
Wow, so I've got your team up in front of me now. I'm going to read it out so Steve-O can hear it. Have you done any changes to this team, Chab?
Yeah, since the last game week, I've done 2 free transfers. That was Luca Dean and Pukki for Rico and Vardy.
Luca Dean and Pukki to Rico and Vardy, right? So another one that's got off the Pukki train, got off the Digne train, if there ever was one. Obviously high ownership early on in the season. Yeah, I think a lot of people were. So yeah, talk me through bringing in Rico in, and then benching him, just to enable the Vardy transfer, I'd imagine.
It is, yeah. Another cheap defender to enable someone that was going to play, and I promoted Soyuncu to my first team basically because I didn't want to have so much tied up in my defence. So since Soyuncu's doing well, and Leicester are as well. I made that move and promoted him to my first team.
I mean, Scott Speed 1000 is saying not playing Rico. Well, obviously not. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say there's anyone else in that team that I would personally drop for Rico. Looking at it, so no, I would. I'm playing him myself purely out of necessity because of fixtures, but I think that I think you made the right move playing Soyuncu over Rico. You certainly wouldn't drop any of the other players there. You got Hudson-Odoi in. Steve-O's kind of got a bit of a crush going on for him. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in his team. So Steve-O, so he's got Pope, Alexander-Arnold, Otamendi, Soyuncu, or Soyuncu, De Bruyne, Hudson-Odoi, Sterling, Salah, Mason Mount, captained Tammy Abraham, and Vardy. Steve-O, the move to take Pukki out for Vardy and take out Digne out for Rico to put him on the bench. Presumably, if we look at the free transfer being the Rico switch, the Pukki upgrade to Vardy.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth it. In fact, Chab's team is almost virtually something I was playing around with in a 3-5-2 formation. The same midfield, very, very strong midfield indeed. It's just I'm more comfortable, I think, going with 3 strikers, which seem to be more consistent returners ahead of the midfielders, shall we say, that you've got. But I like the team overall. But in answer to the points that you were just making, Jason, about Digne to Rico to then upgrade Pukki to Vardy, I think is a very, very good move. And yeah, it's definitely an upgrade.
It's a popular move. It's a popular move this game week. Yeah, definitely. As trends would suggest.
I mean, it's a very balanced team, and I mean, obviously Chelsea have got some great fixtures coming up. And
I just want to ask, Dan. Sorry to cut you off now, but have you and Steve-O traded internet connections?
Oh, don't start.
Because
just listen to me. You don't have to. I'm
trying, mate. I'm listening to you, mate. It was like listening to a wireless back in the 30s.
I've got your bloody mic here, so it shouldn't be. But Anyway, as I was saying, hopefully you can hear me a bit better now. But it's a very balanced team, and I think it'll be a good game week ahead.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it will be. It's a balanced team. Yeah, I'll just make that out. Balanced team. Over. I think it will just Germans over the channel. Going down.
Can't say stuff like that.
We got anyway. Moving on. Any other thoughts, Chad, before we move on?
No, not really. Just jump in Discord, guys, and in chat if you want to have a good chat with people over the weekend about your FPL team. We'll all be in there. So just do it.
Awesome.
Thank you. That team needs some Arsenal. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a Chelsea-heavy team, isn't it?
Oh, Dan, I'm gonna call you back, Dan. I'm gonna call you back because it's not doing you any justice. Honestly, it's not doing you any justice whatsoever. Dan. I think we can get a better quality call there. Chab, thank you, my friend. Thank you for coming on this evening and just sharing your team. I mean, I personally think there's not much else to say. I mean, you've got the captaincy on Abraham. We heard Anish's justification on that. Are you going to keep the captaincy on Abraham, and is it going to be 100% your captain this game week?
It's never 100%, but yeah, it certainly looks that way at the moment. It's the right fixture. So yeah, barring any sort of last minute twitches, yeah, I think I'll leave it on Abraham. Brilliant.
Okay, thank you, Chab. Thank you. We'll talk to you hopefully over the weekend. Steve-O's going to be doing a 12-hour stream on Saturday. Anyway, Chab, thank you ever so much, buddy. Cheers. You're back? Dan? Hello. Back? Hello, Dan.
Hello. Hello. What's happened now?
Oh, God. Amazing. Oh,
it's like going back a year. I've been transported back to 2018. Oh God, there we go. Okay, Crazy Jack, you've been waiting to come on the airwaves. Crazy Jack, we're literally broadcasting from I don't know, from the bunker. How are you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing alright.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. God, tears in my eyes. Never mind eyes in the sky, man. Bleeding tears in my eyes.
Fair enough.
But no, Crazy Jack, I'm gonna bring your team up now. Sorry, I look at your team and I just see orange.
Yeah, there's a lot of orange.
But it's not true orange, is it? Let's be honest with you. It's pretend orange. It's almost like orange is the new black and all that. And I think the captaincy there, with that Lacazette pick away at Sheffield, you're not tempted to put the armband on Lacazette?
Oh no.
Someone's got Lacazette. My goodness.
You can't captain anybody else when Mr. Consistent is most likely going to play.
Very true, very true. I mean, we were talking about it for the last God knows how many game weeks, haven't we? About De Bruyne. If he's fit, he's got to be up there. Captaincy pick. He's, like you've just said, the big C word, consistent. We've been banding about the podcast over the last few weeks saying if there's any one essential player in FPL right at the moment, it's Kevin De Bruyne if he's fit, and it looks like he's fully fit. So I completely understand that. That team of Mr. Sorry, it's Captain Crazy Jack. I could always call you Captain Jack then.
Captain Jack, do whatever you want.
Hey yo, Captain Jack. I'm looking. Hey yo. So, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I'm just thinking. I'm just still see half of Dan's face in his webcam. No. Have you taken any point hits this game week or this international break?
Yeah, I did a -4 a while ago, so I took out Van Dijk for Soyuncu and Pukki for Lacazette.
Wow, I like it.
I was in the call view last time when I was talking about it.
With me?
Yeah.
Oh, I've worked since then, mate. I've literally. I mean, sorry, my memory's is shocking.
So
sorry.
I did it on the Sunday.
Right. Okay.
No,
on the Sunday surgery. Was it on the Sunday surgery or the Saturday?
No, it's a Saturday because on that Saturday, Soyuncu was going to go up, so I had to do it then.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I am well happy with the transfer.
I looking at that team. I mean, the standout for me is you got on with King, and obviously a lot of people jumping on with the obviously Pukki to Wilson, or Pukki to Vardy. You've got King in your team. That's a nice differential, isn't it?
Yeah, like King's been doing really well. Yeah. I think this is a good fixture, and like the fact he's on penalties, which is a big bonus.
Yeah. I think you've got your captaincy pick pretty much nailed there. I dare say it, but I think you're going to be in for a good game week score, and if you do, please come on Saturday evening and share, because that's majority of the games. I mean, 80% of the games will be played by Saturday evening. So come on and gloat by all means. If you, I mean,
I can't wait for Lacazette to play as well.
Oh.
He's been gone for so long.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be fully fit. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And Dan, Dan's here. He's somewhere. Dan, move to your right for God's sake, please.
Yeah, like it was a.
There we go. There we go. There he is.
No, we're living in a bit of a time warp here. Well, I'm living in a bit of a time warp here at the moment. But yeah, I think King is a really good choice actually. That could be a nice little differential.
Yeah, definitely. Crazy Jack, you got any final thoughts? I mean, we've gone through your team and.
I don't know. It's gonna be weird. I think going forward, you kind of need a Arsenal striker, and now an Arsenal forward, and now Lacazette's back.
Bargain.
It's going to be an argument between Aubameyang and Lacazette, because I mean I think Aubameyang's more certain to play the full 90, but Lacazette will be in the middle, so I think that'll put a lot of people off. And that, what is it, 1.4%?
You haven't got a lot of money tied up in your defence as well, which has enabled you to bring him in.
Yeah.
Alongside Abraham and King as well. You've spread the money out quite well in your team, haven't you? I can't quite see who you're on this. Sorry, on this I can't quite see your. So your bench is Button, Cantwell, Lundstram, Kennett. Yeah. So yeah, it's Yeah, I think you've kind of gone away from the whole premium kind of defenders, haven't you? That we've seen a lot of people do over the last few weeks. Are you're quite confident that not owning the likes of Robertson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, you're not going to be missing out on too many points because you've got the likes of Lacazette in, and obviously alongside him.
For the next 4 fixtures, not really. Like if he's pulling something out and Sterling isn't doing great, I think I will then downgrade him. And then sort the defense up. Well, I say sort the defense. I'll probably get maybe Matip to Trent, and then possibly get Allison in. Maybe, but I mean, I'm really happy with the team.
That's the main thing. If you're happy with the team, that's the main thing, because a lot of people are not happy with their team, and that's why they're taking -8s, -12s. Dare I say it, -16s. So so stay happy with the team. Don't worry about those orange flags. I'm sure they're not orange anymore anyway. Are they still orange now? They're not anymore, are they?
No, they're still orange. Like Lacazette was originally red, but now he's orange.
Yeah.
He may not play a full game. I think he'll play a full game. I reckon he'll start, but if he doesn't, he'll definitely start the Palace game. And he was so good in the last two games he started, and he was half injured.
Well,
now he's going to be fully fit, and he's going to be an absolute monster.
He is a monster. He is and he's going to be playing down the centre. He's going to be on the end of some really nice passes from Pepe in midfield, and obviously as well when they link up together, Aubameyang and Lacazette, they're a great bunch. Well, a great partnership. And you've got a fan in Jordan Booman. He says that team is great. So there you go. You got a fan already. Thank you so much, Crazy Jack, for coming on this evening. Cheers, buddy. Speak soon. Bye. Yeah, and you. What last caller of the evening will be Jammy Dodger. Jammy Dodger. Good evening, Jammy Dodger. How are you doing? Is this your first time on the call with us, Mr. Dodger? Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Dodger.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Is this the first time on the show?
Can't hear you.
Turn up the volume or change your user settings. That's normally the cause, if you can hear me on the stream. But no, while we're getting waiting for Jammy Dodger to sort out his audio. Steve-O, we just had we got Captain Crazy Jack. I keep going to call him Captain Jack. I'm sorry, Crazy Jack. Don't know why. There's all that Dance Revolution I used to play as a kid. I don't know if you remember that. But no, a Lacazette pick. You're on a wild card, Steve-O. You've got Aubameyang in and out of your team, and is Lacazette someone that you may consider? You said about AAA with Aguero, Abraham, and Aubameyang. Is to free up a little bit of money, Lacazette could be an option.
I'm pretty sure that Crazy Jack was the one that put it in my mind about having Lacazette or getting in Lacazette in the team. You just mentioned the fact that he came on last week or the week before regarding Lacazette, and he was banging on the drum about the fact how good he was statistic-wise. We always spoke to Dan about Lacazette. But it is the classic thing of I could get him in for Aubameyang, free up 2 million, essentially, and then pump that money back into the build or even upgrade my defence. Stay tuned on Saturday is what I say.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Mr. Dodger, as a Chelsea Flyer. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's a shame. Sorry, Jamie, we can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear us, but hopefully
I can hear you through the stream, but hopefully that'll work.
You can hear us through the stream. That'll be like trying to speak to somebody on the moon. I think it'd be like a 10-second delay. Mr. Dodger, we'll bring your team up on the screen. Just
much of a delay.
Oh, he's stayed with Pookie.
He's gone with Pookie. He's not sacrificed Pookie to the FPL gods, but yeah, Aubameyang, Pookie, Abraham up front. Tom Heaton, Alexander Arnold, Rico, Tomori, Son, Mane, Bernardo Silva, and Kevin De Bruyne.
Wow.
Jamie Dodger, have you spent any points this week? We've got to wait for it to...
No, so I've got 2 free transfers. Obviously, the most simple move would probably to do Bernardo Silva and Pookie out, and I could bring in Mount and Wilson. But my dilemma is that I really like Bernardo Silva, and I was hoping that he would either get banned or not by the end of this week. But now his appeal goes into after Gameweek 9. So if I do those moves, I won't be able to bring in Mahrez.
So essentially, the plan was to take out Bernardo Silva, but now that kind of scuppered your plan because of the appeal. You're sticking with Pookie then. Surely you're thinking that you're seeing other people bringing in Wilson, other people bringing in Vardy. You've also got Son in your team. Are your plans to look elsewhere now that Bernardo Silva's looking likely to stay and play?
Yeah, I've not decided yet.
We're waiting, guys. We're waiting for him to answer because he's listening back on the stream.
I think I will move Pookie on. Sorry for the delay. I think I'd go. I'm either thinking maybe take a real punt and go for Jota from Wolves. And that will mean I can get Mahrez in next week if he is banned. Or I might go for the Wilson and Mount move.
Awesome. Right. So yeah, Jamie Dodger, I think that you're going to probably be stewing on this up until the deadline. But I don't think necessarily need to make any moves this game week. I think Son, Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, even Pookie. People are holding on to Pookie. Maybe just save save a transfer and just go into the game week with the team you've got. I mean, you've already got the armband on De Bruyne. If you bring anyone in, are you going to put the armband on them? That's the question. I don't necessarily think you are. So yeah, we'll hopefully sort out your mic issue, or not. Well, your audio issue, not your mic issue, soon. I'm just going to move you out now. But generally speaking, you need to go to Discord and you need to make sure that your user settings are configured correctly with your audio and video, or voice and video settings are all configured correctly. But guys, we are ticking over for time. We're going to kind of just draw now to the end, towards the end of the podcast. That was our final caller for this evening. Thank you to all the callers that came on. Thank you, especially to the kind, generous people that have supported the show by becoming members this evening. And Dan, how do you feel being back, a part of the crew?
It's been great. Yeah, it's been great fun. I just looked at the time and just realised how quickly the time goes on the stream. Obviously, it's a little bit frustrating about the technical issues, but I think because it's like a one-off, I can kind of allow it. Whereas last season, when it kept happening, it is just so annoying. But yeah, I'm just as I said before the start of the podcast, I'm really looking forward to this game week. Seeing it's just interesting seeing these different teams and these different thought processes, different perspectives. Now I'm panicking, thinking, should I have got rid of Pookie? But yeah, it's just great to see all the guys in chat again as well. And yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, I noticed we've got Cy Bellamy and Pete Smith in chat as well, talking about the days where I used to down shots of Captain Jack.
I never remember you drinking Captain Jack. I think they're just.
I think they're. I used to drink a vodka and Coke. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, Steve-O, how's it been for you being on mobile? I mean, it's obviously a different experience. It's thrown you back to 2018, hasn't it? Now you've got a laptop. Now you can be so appreciative of that laptop of yours that you want to throw out the window so many times.
Yeah, it's not been great, but I've been a ghost.
Well,
today.
You've been better. It's been better as the stream's gone on, and we had a kind of a role reversal towards the end of the podcast between you and Dan's connection. But yes, Wi-Fi, guys and ladies and gentlemen, Wi-Fi is very, very, very finicky, and I wouldn't recommend you streaming on it, Steve-O. But no, thank you ever so much, guys, for being here with us tonight, and hope you've enjoyed the show. I'm looking forward to waking up on Saturday morning, relaxing with my feet up and watching Steve-O question himself, go backwards and forwards, second guess himself, and listen to you guys. And listening to his anguish, and I appreciate it. So yeah. Steve-O, do you want to do the admin, or should we? Actually, we'll get Dan to do it. Yeah, Dan.
I thought I'm meant to be the guest, right? Okay, so the admin. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the stream, if you watch it on the replay, please give us a like. Please subscribe. If you're watching it live now on the show, obviously give us a like. Any comment, any feedback? You guys don't say it. Any comment, any feedback on the stream in the Discord? We always appreciate it. We are on social media, Instagram, the best social media Instagram page in the world, at Elite FPL. I manage it. You can message me 24/7. You can slide into my DMs. Just crack on. We're also on Twitter as well. I know very active on Twitter. Join in with the Discord. Get in with the chat on the weekend. See how everyone's team's doing. Start crying by about 5:30 when your captain's failed. So Discord, Twitter, Instagram, obviously YouTube, and yeah, really appreciate everyone coming by for the stream tonight, and enjoy your game week, and yeah, look forward to seeing you all soon.
Excellent. And apparently it was absinthe, says Pete Smith in chat. I drank absinthe. Wow. No wonder I can't remember.
Can we just look, what happened in 2008 in Magaluf?
Doesn't matter.
Jade, that stays there. That's a long
time
ago.
That stays in Magaluf.
That's history now.
That stays in Magaluf. Thank you ever so much, guys. No. All the best.
Just of interest, whereabouts are you? Not in the world, but are you near like an industrial machine or something? It's very 2 seconds. Just ask a couple of questions. I just need to get the door for a second.
No
Sorry.
problem,
This is what happens when you're live.
What's going on? Not a lot really. I'm waiting to go to the gym. What about yourself?
Live on YouTube doing a stream.
Why do you feel that you're constantly changing your teammate? Is it there's just so many ideas?
So many ideas, so many different perspectives. I blame Brett Mollison for his 5 at back, because when you see my new team.
Wow.
Brighton home, they couldn't buy a goal in the last season.
Well, I don't know. Dan's got Glenn Murray. I think he'll have a word to say about that.
I'm detecting possibly a German accent. I'm probably completely way out. But where are you calling us from?
South Africa.
On the first day, I literally just typed in FPL, like first draft, and yours came up like first. So I thought, I'll watch one of the live streams when it comes on. And then I thought, this is a bit long, isn't it? About 2 hours in. And then 3 hours later, well, an hour later, I was like, yeah, these seem alright, you know. Steven's not that bad.
I have one question for you. I want you to predict the order of the Elite FPL ranking. So, like, who do you think will finish first, second, and third out of y'all three this season?
So it's certainly, no disrespect to Dan, but it's certainly going to be between me and Jason. And right now, as it stands, I'd go with Jason because my history suggests that I'm going to be having a bad season.
So I've got the 5 at the back. I just see a lot of value there. I feel like if I don't have Salah, I can spread the money elsewhere and maybe get the points another way.
All the teams now, except for obviously Salah and Sterling, these players, a lot of players are going to change towards the start of the season just because of new transfers, injuries that could happen, and all of that. So for me to tell you now, like personally right now, I'd say definitely if Tammy Abraham or Batshuayi are cheap, I'd get one of them just because I don't care about the Man United. We can score against them at least 2 or 3.
Hey guys, this season we're using Discord. It's a text and voice application where you can talk all things FPL with fellow community members. You can post your team in the Rate My Team, talk in the general chat, you can look at transfer news, look at awesome GIFs, sign up for our Cash Mini League, look at our previous podcasts, and even join us live on air in one of our streams. We look forward to seeing you guys. Link is in the description, or look at the code on screen.